Really excited to have Kelle on today. She's we call her the gladiator within our team because she just like slays stuff and gets things done. But she's one of our hardest working people. We're really, really smart where it comes to understanding processes, systems, building, remote work processes, but also helping build culture within our team as well. So Kelle is also for those that know Asana is a very popular project management software. So there are like millions of users on it. Once a month, they pick an Asana winner, and Kelly's won Asana of the Month user. So she's beat out hundreds of thousands of people and is considered an Asana master. So you have a really great treat today to have Kelle here to tell you guys how to really kind of optimize performance and productivity with a remote team. So Kelle, take it away.
Thanks, Kham. Awesome. So I was just going to reiterate Kham's experience. It seems like we have a lot of familiar faces, so I won't hone on this slide too long, but everyone knows Kham. Here I am. Just a little bit of background about me. I have 10 years experience across very different industries, obviously right now in marketing, but I've also worked in international relations and development, cultural education and hospitality a good amount. Within those fields, I've worked a lot in nonprofit and startup settings. So with that, it kind of leads to a lot of innovation no matter what, because you have a lot of stuff to get done, but few resources and usually not too much manpower behind you as well. So how do you make those things work for you with what you have? Like Kham mentioned, I have been designated as an Asana user of the month. Definitely makes me blush every time people talk about it, but it's an awesome award, and I'll get more into Asana, but Asana is an amazing community. Their forum and support team is like super responsive, like responds within a couple of hours. So anytime I've had questions about anything, I simply ping them, and that's kind of what got me going so quickly. Since I've been here with Inthink, some of our processes have been cut by 90%, which I know sounds like a massive percentage, but it honestly wasn't too bad as long as you start looking at the processes from I want to say an objective point of view, but really just looking at them from top down and seeing where you can cut those things. So we'll dive into that a little bit more today. Same thing with Kham. We work with a national and local remote team, and we have for a really long time. So we have some good experience there. And then virtual onboarding, we do that a lot. And I know that's kind of a pain point for some people. I don't get too much into that today, but if anyone has questions about that, especially right now, I don't know if people are hiring. Some companies are laying people off, obviously, but I know there's a lot of new nuances that come along with virtual onboarding versus being in person. Awesome. So this week's agenda, we're going to go through some best practices for making remote teams work, virtual tools and how to leverage them for your business. If you attended the first webinar, this is going to be kind of a deeper dive into those tools that were mentioned on there. I really wanted to take today to not only like show you those tools, but really show you specific examples of how we use them. And then hopefully you can implement those pretty easily in your company or some variation of them. And then we'll dive into virtual team culture and some of the things we're doing as well at Inthink. I do want to save plenty of time for Q&A today. I know we have a smaller group, so I'm hoping that means you all have questions and we can get to them. So that would be awesome. And plus you have myself, Kham, and Laura on the team that would be able to answer tons of questions. So keep that in mind. So I wanted to start off with just a couple of stats about remote work in general. I think these kind of help you see the positives right now that we've all had to move to remote, and maybe even think about or consider staying remote after you are able to be back in the office. So just a couple of things. Productivity, teleworkers are an average of 35 to 40% more productive and have measured an output increase of 4.4% or more. So that's awesome. Performance, workers produce results with 40% fewer quality defects. Engagement, higher productivity and performance combine to create 41% lower absenteeism, which is awesome and kind of not what you would expect, I guess, when you're not face-to-face. Retention, 12% turnover reduction, which is awesome, and profitability. I don't get too much into this as well, but remote work, you can see across a lot of things that you can save a lot of money, and that's per person. And that's just a part-time telecommuter. So just think of that number when someone was like fully remote. And depending on the size of your team, obviously that number increases as well. With that though, there are some challenges that come with being on a remote team. The biggest ones are your team can feel disconnected. A lot of people complain about not being able to unplug after work. Those boundaries are really blurred when you're at home all of the time. A lot of employees report loneliness. And then the bottom one is just no one can avoid all the distractions. So I know everyone's there at this point. You have children in the background, pets, the mailman's at the door, whatever it might be. But I think it's just helpful to be conscious of the remote work challenges as well, so we can work through those. So this is just a fun graphic I found. Kind of just talks about how to be successful as a remote worker. One, this is great for employees, but this is just as beneficial for managers. So we'll just talk through some of these in the coming slides. I go into more depth on some of them, but I do want to just go over them quickly on this slide as well. So number 1 and 2 is really just making sure you have a proper environment set up. I know that can be difficult when you first start going into remote work. Even me, who has been working remote for months now, still finds myself sometimes sitting on my couch, or I do have a full office where I am now. But it's not always the most productive to be in the same spot all the time. Even in office settings, you see that there's different places to work. So just find that place that is comfortable for you. Be aware that it might change. Sometimes I even try to sit outside for a couple of hours in my backyard. Anything that's going to kind of motivate you to be a little bit more, what's the word? I guess just motivated. Number 3, I'll dive into this more, is just preparing for your meetings. This is definitely essential as we're now virtual. Honestly, I think meetings can be more productive when we're virtual, because you can really just make sure everyone's on the same page before the meeting, and then during the meeting, make sure it's vital. Create accountability for yourself. That's really just, in my opinion, making to-do lists and having almost like team accountability to make sure things are getting done. Be visible at work is really just showing that you're actually still working, since people can't see you in person. Again, I'll dive into this one a bit more. As well as 6, communication is really important right now, since we're lacking those social cues and other things that you typically get in an office setting. Number 8, also very vital, setting clear responsibilities. So some people's job roles might have changed as we've moved to a remote world. So just keep that in mind. And honestly, the more I find myself in this management role, the more I realize that it's a lot of over communication, to the point where I think I'm being annoying, but it's helpful for the whole team. And it just really reiterates and makes sure that everyone is on the same page. That goes into number 9, talking to your team. So consistently just checking in with them, making sure everyone's on the same page. And then number 10, taking time to socialize. We'll get into that as well. So that's really the culture side of things. I believe I skipped number 7. We'll get into that. I have a great little picture for that, but always something to keep in mind. Again, without the concrete separation of work and home, it's pretty easy to forget to take care of yourself. Like sometimes I even forget to eat lunch. So just always keep yourself top of mind. All right, so a couple of things that we do to prepare for meetings. This is something that we've been working on pretty, strictly over the last couple of months, is really making sure every meeting is actually essential. So with that, like I said, meetings can be a time suck, disrupt deep thinking, and be extremely costly. By that, I mean looking at how much each of your employees is paid, and then how many of those people are in each meeting, gives you a pretty quick view of how much each meeting is costing you. So always something to keep in mind. As well with your clients, you want to make sure the meeting is valuable for them. So these are kind of my 3 tips: is always set an agenda, collaborate pre-meeting with collaborative docs, working docs, and set action items during each meeting so everyone knows what they come away with. We utilize G Suite. It's kind of our soul here at Inthink. We really run everything on there. And the great thing about the great thing about G Suite is this option to have collaborative pre-meeting documents. We use them so much that sometimes we can get everything out on that pre-meeting doc and then realize that the meeting is not even needed. So I just put an example of a meeting template that we use that I find really helpful. Just some tips in general. We always try to put some bulleted agenda items here, and then always include who's responsible for that talking point and the time that we should dedicate to that. Honestly, we're not the best at keeping track on time. We need to be better about that. Our team definitely likes to dive headfirst into some conversations, but this is a great starting point to make sure you have those out there and everyone knows the precedent before going into the meeting. We always have room for questions as well. And then something that I cut off on this image is those action items. So we'll have a separate section just for action items. I found that really helps, just making sure everyone sees it visually. So I always share these documents while we're in the meeting on the screen, just like I'm doing now. And then just another best practice, always set your next meeting date in that meeting, especially if it's client facing. And then something that we have found really helpful is just proactively problem solving. So asking our clients or whoever you might be meeting with how they're doing, if they're understanding everything that's going on. Just always trying to do that week to week, bi-weekly, whatever it might be, so you're not running into bigger issues down the road. I see a lot of things coming in the chat, so I just want to pause and take a look at that super quick.
I'm staying on top of it, so I think we're good. Some of the questions I'm answering.
Okay, perfect. About the loan, because I
If
did.
I miss anything, I think Laura and I have it that way. We don't
Perfect.
interrupt your flow, Kelly.
Okay, awesome. And slow me down too, you guys, if you have any questions or I'm going too fast. I know a lot of you have been on our webinars quite a bit, so this is a little bit of repetitive information, but obviously, like I said, it's a deep dive. So stop me, or I'll keep cruising through as we get there. Something else I just wanted to mention about our meetings, just kind of the structure of our internal meetings. We have a weekly team meeting once a week, weekly. And so I find that helps just when you're in a virtual team to still have that one like regroup with your team. Typically in that meeting, we do like an icebreaker or get to know your team, which obviously gets into the culture side of things. We do team shout outs as well, which is always just a great way to share wins with the entire team. Then we do simple things like review critical company updates. We always let people know when people are taking time off, because again, that's not something that's always communicated when departments aren't talking to each other every day. We review our sales pipeline to proactively prepare our team for anything that might close in the next few weeks. And then we troubleshoot any issues and challenges. So again, our weekly meetings are really just a regroup. It shows that our whole team is still available in there, and it's just a good time for us to work through things together. Awesome. All right. So this is number 4 that was on that previous graphic when we were talking about accountability. This is my calendar this week. It's a little crazy, but honestly, this is really helpful for me. And this is something that we call time boxing. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that, but it's basically just breaking down your calendar by the things you need to get done each day. So you see mine is color coded based on meetings, and then the green boxes are when I really schedule my like personal work. I think you can tell that I don't fill in every box because that can be super overwhelming. It gives you breathing time and just space to think between different tasks. But I also think seeing this as an overview, you can see what you were actually able to accomplish during the day and what you weren't and what went wrong. So it's always just a good way to reflect. A couple other things I personally do for keeping myself accountable is daily reminders. So I do those sometimes in the calendar, like you can see here. I also do them a lot in Asana, where you can set reoccurring reminders or weekly reminders, whatever it might be. I also handwrite my calendar sometimes, which I think helps as well. You can check things off. And I like to organize that side of my life with like things I really need to do that day and things that would be like nice to do. So that helps me just see things in an attainable way. And then if I get to the nice too, that's awesome. I feel like I've really, really strived that day. And then the other thing that I find really important besides just personal accountability is still using your team to keep yourselves accountable. So here I just put an example of something that Andrea and I are working on. We're looking at like 87 hours of these digital marketer training courses. Big project. And the way we're kind of keeping each other accountable is bi-weekly meetings to just see, hey, like, were you able to get through this? And having those meetings on your calendar just make sure you're really working towards something. Because I know if we didn't check in week to week, that would just be on the bottom of my list every time and nothing would get accomplished there. All right, so 5 and 6 on that graphic were about being visible at work and communicating clearly and effectively. These are definitely big now that you're in.
I just want to pause a quick second and ask folks. So the calendar has come up in just like passing when I'm talking to other folks too. So like, how are you guys dealing with like working remotely, or just like how do you feel your day's been? Have you feel like it's been too full? I've heard some people actually saying I'm working more hours. Like Catherine, or just look at the names that are on here.
Mm-hmm.
Robert, you guys give us some feedback. How's your day been like? Do you feel like you guys are pretty effective, efficient in your day? Catherine?
Well, I currently work from home as it is. So um, I came in here to see different techniques potentially. But we are already set up with my company already to work from home. And I've been doing it for 12 years. So I do find that, well, sometimes I do work more than I have in the past working at a company.
Mhm.
But I do have to set limits. Like, hey, stop sleeping with my phone um, at night, and answering. Well, when I was with another company, answering the calls from China coming in, things like that. Put it in a different room and set, definite like stop points. Don't answer the phone at 11 o'clock at night when someone's calling from the West Coast or something like that.
Yep.
But you kind of have to hit hard stops and do leave time to walk the dog, reset yourself, things like that.
Yeah, the time boxing has really transitioned our team a lot. Like, it's because it gives you clarity. Like every day, my team will reflect on what they did, because we have our goals that we want to accomplish for the week. And then you break that back into that. What are you doing daily to get towards that goal, and then you keep back into it, right? We have our monthly goal, quarterly goals, yearly goals, quarterly goals, but it starts by what you do every day. So, and by reflecting, sometimes we catch ourselves like, man, we had way too many meetings this week. That's why we're cutting down a lot of meetings, so that we can get more like deep thinking work done and executing. Um, but if there's anything particular that you have questions about, because you're pretty comfortable being remote, just say, hey, how do you handle this or that? Just put that in the chat, guys, and we're happy to to answer those. We want to make sure this is your time. We appreciate your time today, so we want to make sure that we personalize this too, so you have some good takeaways.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And Catherine, the second half of this presentation is literally specific examples of what we do here at Inthink. So I'm hoping you can either take those and run with them with your company or alter them in some way to make them work for you.
Great. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Kham. All right, so back to communication. Communication is obviously vital no matter what company you're in. It becomes more vital when you're virtual because you're not able to just hop into someone's cubicle or office and be like, hey, what's up? What's going on? So a couple of things that we do is obviously we're very flexible and casual at Inthink, but we also set times that everyone should be available. So anytime we sign on a new freelancer or employee, we set those standards right in their agreement. And I kind of just took 2 screenshots of that right here. You can see that we require people to respond to communication within 24 hours, even if it's not actually answering the question, but just receipt of the message is helpful. And then we also set these communication standards where we specifically say what we use each of the channels for. This is something I definitely recommend if you don't already do this, is making sure everyone's on the same page. You don't want to what's the word? You don't want to assume that everyone knows what each channel should be used for. We like really hone it in on people, and anytime we're using something for the wrong reason, or for example, we use Slack like every day. It's basically how we talk to the entire team at any point. And then we've realized recently that in quick projects, we have people just dropping project tasks and communication right in Slack as well. The problem with that is that our Slack is the free one, and so things get deleted and things get lost in Slack. It gets messy. So anything that's project related, we always ask people to put in Asana. So when we saw that happening, Kham actually stepped in and was like, hey, just make sure this is moved into Asana. Just gentle reminders like that are super helpful for people. And then I just left this screenshot over here. I don't know how many people are currently using Slack, but these green dots are really how we know people are online or not. So just a really easy way to keep track of your team. Like I mentioned before, just something to be careful about with communication right now is you're lacking those social cues and body language. So make sure you're being super direct and always ensuring that people are on the same page. So typically when I'm explaining something new to my team, I always ask them to reiterate what the goal or the task was, or explain the process to me just to make sure that they understand it. Never in a condescending way, obviously, but just you want to make sure they know. You don't want them to spend hours working on something to come back and be like, that's not what we meant. And again, like in our industry, at least, things are moving so quickly that you'll get ideas from one person and then the other. So it's just an easy way to organize things and make sure they know what they're doing. Awesome. So number 7, love this picture. This is me on my lunch breaks. As silly as it seems, I really just wanted to make the point of like making sure you're taking care of yourself. You can't be a productive member of the team if you're not well. So just my quick tips are take the time to stretch. I literally sat out on my doorstep for a few minutes before this just to get some sunlight, some fresh air. Just get away from your screen for a little bit. Like we saw in the chat, like some people have trouble stepping away from work. So make sure you continue to keep that space. Something else I've tried to do recently is take up morning meditation. So I typically start my day with that and then get into work. And then I actually try to schedule a workout right at 5. So I know at least I'll stop for half hour to an hour and have some me time. And I'm sure we all know exercise gets those endorphins going, and then typically I'm ready for a couple more hours of work if I need to after that. So make something work for you, but always remember to take that time throughout the day. And like I mentioned, don't forget lunch because it's important as well. Awesome.
One thing I want to add, Kelly, is I got a stand-up desk. You can get like just the stand-up part that goes on a laptop, and that stands up, but I actually get the whole desk. So when I'm standing, everything is the same level as me, but that's helpful too. And I rotate that up and down. Sometimes I'll have it lower, but that's really helpful. If you guys start to see that this is going to be something a little bit more, long-term because it makes sense for you to be home, it's nice to have.
Definitely. And to couple that, like if you are going to be home for a while, it's worth the investment to get a nice computer chair or a standing desk or something that you're just going to be excited to work more because you're going to be comfortable working. Awesome. All right. So number 8 on that graphic was setting clear responsibilities. This is just a very simple screenshot of one of our projects that we have, but you can clearly see that people are assigned, their pictures are there. So it's really visual and easy. The main point here is to just know that project management tools are your best friend. And again, like over communication, don't ever underestimate that. And the great thing about being virtual is that everything needs to be documented anyways. So get into a good practice of making sure all tasks, no matter how small they are recorded somewhere so we can keep that workflow going. What's also really helpful about having a project management tool is where you can see if things are getting stalled for some reason, or if someone goes out sick or whatever it might be, you can see exactly where they've left off in a project and take it from there. One thing I do want to say about setting the clear responsibilities is be cautious of too many cooks in the kitchen. Responsibilities can easily be lost, which again is why this template, super simple, super straightforward, but it happens to the best of us. This happened to us literally just last week. again, things are moving so quickly and we were trying to get a campaign out the door. But we wanted everyone's opinion. So we threw everyone in a couple of meetings, and just with everything going on, people went in their own directions. And then there were a couple of things that were dropped off or forgotten, whatever it might be. But it's just a great reminder that something as simple as just assigning one person to a task, it goes a really long way. All right, so my bonus tip for you guys after all of those is find the right tech stack for your company. Every company looks a little different. Workflows look different, and you just want to make sure it's working for you and making your team successful. So with that, I'm going to just pause for a second and ask if anyone had any questions so far. Great. All right, now we're going to get into the nitty gritty stuff. So again, this is going to get pretty granular. And so just stop me if it's not super helpful, but I just wanted to show some very specific examples of what we do here at Inthink. So the first tool that we use, like I mentioned, is Slack. We basically live in here. These are all the things, not all of them, but a good chunk of what we do here in Slack. The first few are really self-explanatory. We just use the channels for different things. This, if you're training your team to get on Slack, I actually stole this from Scale Time, Juliana, if anyone was on last week's call. But this is awesome. It's super straightforward and simple, and it just breaks down what each channel should be used for. If you go into Slack, you'll see that you can set channel descriptions as well. So you could just literally copy these and drop them in there. But setting your team up and sending them this along with like how to get started with Slack, I think is just a great way to set a really strong foundation to move forward from. Something else that we really love about Slack is all of the integrations. So some of the big ones that we use are HubSpot, Typeform. Right now, this has been a really big one for us. It eliminates a lot of bottlenecking. So I'm the one that kind of monitors our Typeform, but with the integration, I'm able to directly send certain type forms to certain channels. So if we have like a sales lead, I can send it to the sales channel. And now like if I don't see the type form come in, the whole sales channel knows about it and someone can take it from there without me ever being present. We use Asana sparingly with the Slack integration. It can get a little overwhelming depending on what you're using it for. Since our team uses Asana constantly, I think I looked at a report that we had like 10,000 something tasks in there from the last month. So if we use the integration, how it's set up, you'd basically be getting pinged all the time for any time there was something going on in Asana. So make sure that works for your team. It doesn't always. Sorry about that. Couple other things we do, it's just great for easy file share. We send a lot of GIFs, like a lot. I think it's really great. And then another really fun tool is the team polls, which you can see right here. Slack is really great with these commands, and all you do is that / and you start typing, and there's a bunch of different things you can do, but the polls are super helpful. As you can see, there's a super easy example right there. Just a couple best practices for Slack. You'll see the @ symbol. You use that to directly message someone in a public channel. The difference between that and then you'll also see @here or @channel. @here notifies everyone in the entire channel, no matter if they're online or not. And @channel only messages people that are online. So I think that's always helpful. Depending on who you're trying to get a hold of, it's just easier on everyone's inboxes. If they're not getting every notification, that doesn't really have to do with them. And then another big thing that I like to use in Slack is threads. I'm not sure how many people are familiar with that, but it's basically if someone posts a main message in a channel, there's a couple little dots you can press and open up a thread, and then it just organizes that whole conversation into one place. Makes things a lot more searchable and things don't get as lost in the whole channel. Another thing, I should have pulled up Slack. Maybe I will. No.
Well, we talk a lot about Slack here too. So okay, some of me may not have Slack, Kelly, which is fine, but it actually took me a little bit of time to someone else. It took me a couple years to get it. Now we can live without it. and it's just free. We have like 30 plus people on this. So it's the free version. There's definitely the paid version. But even as robustly as we use it, we get a lot still through the free version. So if you guys don't have it, I think you should definitely figure out how to, because it integrates with everything that you already have. So it's not really an additional system. It really is more efficient. But if you don't have it, I guess just be patient with us as we're going through this part. But, I really think that you guys should give it a try.
Mm-hmm. I recommend it. It's an awesome tool. You can even be part of a bunch of different Slack workspaces, I think they're called, and they're all in the same platform, so you can switch between them. Super easy. You can pin things to certain channels, which just saves them. I try to pin like important announcements or files or whatever it might be, so it's really easy access to those. Some of the channels that we have in ours that I find really helpful is an announcements channel, which we basically just put all of our team announcements. Again, we throw in a lot of gifts there. And we also have a shout out channel, which has been really popular. And that's just another way to quickly share team wins and just make sure everyone knows what's going on with the whole team, because like I said, departments aren't always talking to each other, or if like one group is working with a client, they don't know what the other group is working with a different client looks like. So just helpful to share those wins and motivates the team a little bit more.
And I will say there's a question in chat about using G Suite, which we use Google Drive for a lot of things. And before I came to Inthink, I was using Google Chat mostly and not Slack. And I thought, Google Chat, that's totally fine. I don't think we need I don't know what the Slack's all about. I don't know if I'll like it. And just in general, using Slack versus GChat or Skype or something, it's really, I think, coming right into Inthink, I've just been integrated into the culture right away. And I feel like it's really helped. I've always worked with remote agencies and worked from home, but I've never worked for a company that has this culture that Inthink has. So I will I know Kelly mentioned that it helps culture, but just from my point of view, that's, such a benefit of it. But Kelly, do you want to talk a little bit to the question about G Suite?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I meant to pull up the question and I closed out.
Okay. What it says was, do we use, G Suite definitely from an email standpoint, and then what apps do we lay over your email accounts for better management, thread searching? So we use HubSpot. So we integrate our all of our marketing and communications also will back up. So whenever someone sends us an email, even if it's a new contact, that contact record and that whole email string gets backed up on HubSpot. So if you're talking to prospects or even clients, we've had when we've had new people come on board, or a new project manager or a new salesperson, they can go into HubSpot. They can actually see the corresponding if we're transitioning someone from one position to another or to take over an account, they can see that through HubSpot. But you can also see, you can still go back and forth. If you're more familiar or comfortable in G Suite, you can do it there. But HubSpot's a good one. There's all these other add-ons that you can find for free too for emails. If you send an email to people, everyone wants to know, did they open it? Did they read it? There's a lot of free tools through the marketplace for Gmail if you don't want to do the paid version of HubSpot. And then we also overlay Asana. So Asana links to our emails too. So if an email comes in and it's actually a task, we can then right through Gmail, we can actually create that task in our project management software, which is Asana. A lot of other project management software that are robust should have that integration naturally. So it's that natural flow. Okay, great. I should make this a task. Boom. I use Google Keep. Some people use other things for note taking. So if I need to take notes, it's again utilizing the G Suite. It's all right there. So if I'm having meetings, I can do that a lot on Google Keep, and everything's right on that sidebar. I can pretty much stay in my Gmail account the whole time. And then another thing that we use is Drift. So Drift is free. You can do video, and Loom too. Loom is recording quick, but with Drift, they have Loom and Drift have Chrome extensions. So again, because Chrome is through Gmail, so through Google, everything starts to kind of interconnect. But Drift is great because you can actually create videos right into your email that you open up. It has a little Drift icon on the bottom. You click it and you can record yourself. And if someone's watching that video, there's a chat box on the right side, just like almost like a live chat, and you can know when someone's watching that video. So let's say I'm doing a video to Kelly and say, hey Kelly, today let's make sure you circle back with the team, double check that project that's supposed to go live today, and I can give her basically quick points without sending a big email. When she watches that video, I actually get pinged and notified in my window, and I can be like, hey, I'm right here if you need anything. So I can let her know that I am available while she's watching that video. So that's great from internal communication. External, on the flip side, let's say you have a proposal from a sales standpoint, or a customer service, like maybe you're answering a question because they bought your product and you're trying to tell them how to use, I know Tina, you do these, the not the shed, not the sheds, I'm sorry, the
Shelters.
shelters,
Yes,
right?
the
So you
world
say,
needs
oh, here,
shelters.
hey, I just
Okay.
sent you the PDF on like how to put everything together. You can even talk them through it. But when they watch that video, Tina, you can actually jump in and say like, hey, you have any questions? I'm actually available right now, or any of your support staff can do that. So this is all like integrated right through Gmail, but those other apps also integrate with Outlook too. So for those that have other, but that's how we actually utilize those layovers.
Definitely. And Drift and everything can be integrated with Slack as well. So whatever's going to work for you. Again, just want to reiterate the point that no one's tech stack looks the same. So just find what's going to work for your team. Did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. I use Gmail, and I've been adding things and sort of playing with it for a while. And there's just so many. I'm one of those people that like somebody tell me what they like and if it's working, so I don't have to waste 2.5 hours saying, "Oh my God, I don't love it." So that's good to hear.
Good. And I mean, we found ourselves in places too where we try out a certain tech or software, and months later we're like, actually, this isn't working for our team. So just be prepared for that as well. There is some trial and error, and especially if you're just moving to remote.
It's features. It's tough to gauge because that's why we like to do it for free. We'll do the free software trial because like they all say similar like talking points about the features, but then you kind of like look under the hood. Actually, it doesn't really do it the way I want it to do it. So we've jumped around, and that's normal when it comes.
Really
and more
critical.
new technology is going to come out, and actually the existing technology that didn't do it are evolving too. So we're seeing that as well, like new features coming on right now because people are remote.
Mm-hmm. And to follow up with that point too, always reach out to the support staff. I always ask them some hard questions if we're looking for specific utility in certain things. So they're always trying to sell a product too, so they're super helpful. All right, so another tool that we actually just recently started using is Toggle time tracking. The great things about this is that you can create a structure of time tracking without having to like micromanage your team really. They can have a personal account or be
Ellie, I just want to, I think you're showing your notes slide.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
Is that showing now? Here, let me try to stop share for a second.
You're showing the presenter view slide versus the deck. That's happened to me before too. So.
I like tested this out with Laura too. I'm like, what's gonna happen?
I wouldn't be surprised if Google crashes too. That's happening. Google Calendar actually crashed for like a few hours one day throughout the whole company. So not just for us, like literally like Google themselves. So it happens.
Nobody knew when their next meeting was.
Can you still see my notes? Is it in the way?
I can't see anything.
Okay, awesome. So like I said,
I can't see your screen at all.
Yep, he's gonna reshare your main deck, Kelly.
Let me find Zoom. There we go.
All right, perfect.
You can't see the notes still?
No, we're good. This is
okay, great. Awesome. All right, so Toggle, like I said, we just started using recently, so we're still learning. Just a couple things that I've learned along the way. Toggle's been super great, and I can see it being an awesome, powerful tool for us. Really easy to start up. You can download an extension right to your browser, so you can easily just click right in there. There's also a mobile app and like an actual desktop app as well. The way we've kind of broken ours down is by clients and by tags, and this just helps us organize things so we can see exactly how many hours are being spent on a certain client, or like we had talked about, we're trying to avoid meeting exhaustion, so we created a specific tag just for meetings, and now I can quickly look at a weekly report and see how many hours we were spent in meetings. Like I said, just super powerful. The other thing that I found really helpful in just onboarding my team with this is I tried out the tool for a week before I even started bringing the team on, just to make sure I could troubleshoot things and answer questions, because again, like, I was new to the tool as well, but you want to make sure you're able to be a resource for your team. So definitely take the time. I also pulled Laura in because she had actually been using it personally. So make sure you're vulnerable and ask for feedback from your team, and also utilize the rest of your team. They're experts as well. So that's kind of all I have for that. Does anyone have any questions about Toggle, or is anyone using Toggle right now? Megan, thank you for your no. Yeah, I mean, exactly. We've been working remote forever, and we still make technical difficulties all the time. Awesome. If no one has any questions about this, the only other thing I wanted to point out is that the reason I really love Toggle is, like I said, you don't have to micromanage people, but you can easily just see who's working right now, what they're working on, without having to ping them and annoy them all day. All right, so I'm going to dive into Asana. I thought it would be helpful to show you guys just right into our Inthink Asana, but some of the things I wanted to cover in there was the structure of Asana, and this is similar to how other project management tools are broken down. The overall thing you have is the team, so ours is broken down by certain clients for each of the teams. Within those teams, you have projects. So those are all the services we offer to our clients. And then you have your tasks and your subtasks, which essentially act as giant checklists. I'll go over the inbox functionality in there, which is one of the key points we love about Asana. It's super easy to just work right in your inbox the entire time. I'll show you how awesome the portfolios and workload view can be, some reports I pull, and then the big thing I wanted to show you guys is the templates, and this is how we put all of our workflows into a project management tool. So I hope this still shares. Maybe. Can you guys see my Asana screen?
Yep.
Awesome. So I'll go through this kind of quickly, and please stop me with any questions. Common, Laura, if you want to just let me know if questions come in as I'm going through this. Again, this is just Asana, but I wanted to be able to show you some specific examples. A lot of project management tools have similar functionality, but again, take a little bit of time to explore them and see what's going to work best for you. Some of the more simpler ones that I would recommend are Monday.com. It's super just visual, easy segmentation, things like that. So if you're looking for an easy just transition kind of tool, that's great. Asana and like ClickUp and Trello, they get a lot more intense depending on what you need from it. So other things to explore. I would also look at Basecamp if you're looking for a more simple one as well. So what I wanted to go through here is one, the inbox. Just quickly show you a couple of things in here. These are all the tasks that I have been assigned to. So great thing about the inbox functionality in Asana is that you can just click right in there, and then I can work on this task just right here. I don't need to go into the specific projects all down here, and can literally go right through all of my tasks. So super easy. Some of the things I like about this screen is that I can sort by all. So the reason I kind of avoid this screen is that I'm tagged in a lot of things that really are just for me to keep tabs on and not necessarily have to do anything for. So I like these two a lot, where I can see things that are just assigned to me or things where I'm mentioned. So this is a great view right here. Just these are things that I actually need to respond to, which is perfect. Moving right into the portfolios. This is an awesome tool. I use this to see like a really quick overview of all of our projects. You can see I've kind of broken it down by the type of project. I also have it broken down by our different project managers, so you can see all of their clients at once. But one of the ones I wanted to highlight was this team workload. So you'll see you have all these different tabs up here. And this one, I basically just dropped every single project that we have in Asana into this portfolio. And then if you click on the workload, now you can quickly see how much people have on their plate. And so the way I use this tool is, like you can see mine's pretty high up there, but for just pure example, Katie only has one. So is there any way I can move tasks around to have Katie support Kelly, or vice versa, whatever it might be? But I think this is just super helpful to see what's happening, what's in the pipeline, and how you can utilize your team the best. The other thing I wanted to show you guys in the portfolios is just like what some of our project segmentation looks like. The reason I love this view is that, again, you can just see all of the projects that are happening for websites in particular. And then what I have our project managers do weekly is update these statuses. And so this has actually helped us avoid an hour and a half of meeting times. So all of our project managers update all of their statuses. They typically add in a like Excel sheet of a tracking for their client, and just a couple of notes about what's going right, what's not. Fortunately, all these ones are on track, but sometimes we do have off track ones, and then you can quickly dive into what's going on. Another awesome thing that I recommend as a best practice is adding start and due dates to each of your projects. So now you really have an idea of what that Gantt chart looks like. Particularly for website projects, this is important for us because we have a small web development team, and so it's really essential to know when projects are starting and when they're ending so we can schedule out the next one. Any questions about portfolios? Can you guys see this being helpful for your teams? I hope so. I'll quickly go over some reports. This one is really helpful for me as well. The ones I specifically use are overdue tasks. So probably every other week, I run this report, and then I can quickly see how many tasks we have overdue based on whatever the time period I want to look at. You can customize these really easily and make whatever kind of report you want for your team. But again, just a super easy way to get a quick visual of what's going on and not spending hours going back and forth with your team to figure out what's up, etc. So what I wanted to show you guys in particular is our templates. This is what we spend a good amount of time building out. Essentially, it's all of the services that we offer to clients, but it also includes like our onboarding process, our employee onboarding process, anything that you could really find in here. We have a general one that we typically add to all of our clients' folders just as like a catch-all. So I find that really helpful. And then basically how it works is that we drop this in and it's a giant checklist. So I'll open up one just so you guys can see how granular you can get. But we divide this by section. I always find it super helpful to add like a reference section to each project, and it's just kind of important things that they need to know for this certain project. Something that's also helpful is you can go to project actions and edit the project details and add important things right here. So those are easily accessible. But as you can see, this gets as specific as putting down how many hours each task should take. And you can go from there. So we drop this into a client folder, and then from there, a project manager assigns all of the proper tasks, and you can quickly start to develop a workflow and a timeline for each project. Something that I just wanted to point out on here is that you can create different fields right here. So there's tons of examples in there that you can use, but you can also create your own. So it could be anything from like an approval to you could add the time in as a field instead, things like that. And another fun thing that Asana does is you can create rules. So say I wanted a certain task to ping me when it needed approval. I can make that rule and that automatically does it. So it's not, again, it's saving time for the project manager or the creative, whoever's working on that task. Automatically, when they're done with it, it'll ping me, and then it sets the next step of the workflow. One thing I just wanted to talk about too is just best practices for adding tasks. So in Asana, again, this looks very similar to other ones, but here's kind of the structure of what you need in a task. It's who it's assigned to, the due date. Ours is broken down by projects, obviously. Then we have the fields that I showed you, description. So big things here. I always assign it to someone, obviously. The cool thing about Asana is that you can assign copies. So if I ever wanted 2 people to do like one training or something, I could assign 2 copies, and that's really easy to do. Looking at the due date, something that our team always does is add a start date. And so this just, again, helps our team proactively prepare for projects coming down the pipeline. So say we had like a giant due date next Friday, I would probably start the due date Monday, so they get that notification Monday and are starting to prepare for it up until Friday, rather than it being due on Friday and maybe it gets lost in all their tasks that are due before them. Another great thing about Asana is that you can even add a due date, or excuse me, due time, and you can set reoccurring tasks. So this could be anything from daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly. It's literally customizable to however you want it. Something here for the descriptions, I always just make sure our project managers or whoever's creating the task is as descriptive as they can be, providing necessary links, or in some of our templates, we even have like structured bullet points that need to be filled out for this task. And then you'll see down here, most project management tools have an audit trail of any communication based on that. Just some best practices for that, always at the person that you're trying to talk to so they get pinged. And then a special thing right here, you can add collaborators. So say someone just needs to keep tabs on the project, but is not assigned to the project in any way, you can add them right here and they'll get notified as things progress. Any questions about that? I know that was a really quick overview of what Asana looks like and what project management tools can do, but I hope that kind of sparks some thoughts for some of you for your own team. Let's see. Okay. Awesome. So I think I'll move on from there. Happy to chat through this more with people if you have specific questions. I have worked in a few other project management tools, so if you're not using Asana, I might have some answers for you or can help you just problem solve in general project management. Awesome. So I know we only have a few minutes left, but I do want to just show you guys some fun things that we do to promote team culture here at Inthink. Super important, especially when moving to the virtual team. And especially right now, everyone's kind of going through their own thing, either physically, mentally, whatever it might be. So I think culture is more important than ever right now. And like Laura mentioned, we kind of throw our culture in your face as soon as we even post a job description. So we, one, do our due diligence and make sure we have the right people fitting into our culture. But then from there, you need to keep growing it and making it work for your team. So these are just some fun things that we do in Asana, or excuse me, in Slack. We have an Inthink Babies channel, and that's kind of our channel to throw in cute babies, plants, pets, whatever it might be. This channel obviously is just fun, and it's great to have those kind of channels to just show that there's like a water cooler. It's kind of like your virtual water cooler. And then another thing that we always do is share gifts like I showed you. We try to promote milestones. So Christian really crushed it with the time tracking. That was something I did when we first started doing the time tracking. Is if you're showing that someone's doing it well, hopefully that motivates your team, the rest of your team, to keep up with it. And then these are just some other things that we do in Slack. Kham has been really great about sending like a weekend recap. So that's always awesome. It really gets the team just like able to reflect about the week and have a great weekend. And then these again are just some ways that we show milestones. So I told you guys about our shout out channel. We did some great work for a client, and so I just made sure the whole team knew about it. Always great to put the gifts in there. I love Oprah. Let's get back. And then these are just some fun messages of how we onboard people virtually. So again, no one's able to come in and into your office and say hello, but we make sure to still make sure people are feeling welcome. Some virtual games that we've tried out in the last couple of weeks is Cards Against Humanity. I definitely recommend this. It's super fun. This website as well just has a ton of ideas. I know games are silly, but it's a great way to keep your mind challenged and kind of take that break from work. And again, build that rapport with your team and think about something besides work together. A couple of other things I found, remote work bingo. We haven't done this one, but while I was looking online, I think this sounds really fun. Something else I saw too was like a remote escape game, which could be a really cool problem solving and just like team engagement project. So something to think about. And then we're actually going to start next Friday with a team virtual happy hour on Fridays. So another suggestion to maybe think about for your team. But again, just find creative ways to make sure your team is having fun while also doing their work, because obviously happy employees create better quality work. And so I'll leave it at that. Does anyone have any questions? I know we only have a couple minutes left, but happy to take this conversation offline as well.
I don't have any questions, but thank you so much. I think it's really fantastic. It's so great to share. We're kind of all going through the same challenges, I think. I've worked from home and remotely for a long time, so I'm pretty comfortable in all of that. But the tech piece of it is challenging, and the time, at this point, my phone is ringing constantly, and I have customers all over the globe, basically. So I personally think that it's hard to stop working, and it's not good for anybody. And you do your best, and thank God I have Alexa. She's the only one that listens to me. I don't have a standing desk, but I have quite literally like 8 hats in my room, and I physically change my hat when I'm doing legal work versus IP work and Alexa is my reminder, and I literally get up and move to a different seat at the same table. Sounds absolutely asinine, but it's a really good little shift.
Yep.
It's very hard.
Exactly, a shift in mind. I sometimes light a candle and different candles if I need to work on different kinds of projects, and that eventually your mind gets used to those smells and it just gets you into deep work. I love that suggestion though. That's perfect. I might start doing that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's the one thing I will say from a positive thing is I think people are communicating extremely well and really with open arms trying to share, literally trying to help any way that they can. And I'm just so happy that all of these webinars have popped up, and that we all have nice networks, but I think people are expanding their networks right now in a way that they probably never would have made time to do. So if nothing else, we have that. And those virtual happy hours, they're a problem, because I have people in New England, then middle of the country, then California. Before you know it, I've had 3 in a row. It's not good. It's not good.
I love it. Something I'm doing with a couple of friends actually tonight is a cocktail making class. So one of our friends is teaching us. He sent us this really cute, thought out email with all the ingredients you need and the equipment. And he teaches you how to make 3 drinks. We did a whiskey one. That was a little intense, and tonight's gin. So something else. Oh, God. Yeah.
Well, let me share one. Nobody mentioned it. I don't know if you guys have heard of it or not, but Marco Polo is a great phone app, and it's video. It's quick video conferencing, almost like the Loom concept. And basically you invite all the people that you want to be part of it. And it's fantastic because it kind of keeps on rolling. So you can just have it sitting there, and it's going. And my partner, God bless me, I'll never fit out the door when this is over, but she's Italian. So she makes homemade pasta normally every Sunday. And now that she is home, there's eggplant farm today. We're doing and she's doing Marco Polo to show people how to make homemade gravy and stuff. So.
Oh, that's great. Awesome.
We think it's great.
For everyone else.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing, Tina.
You're welcome.
Well, guys, if there's no other questions or comments, I know this can be super overwhelming, and I do want to just preface this whole thing with, I had very little experience with marketing operations before I joined Inthink, and really taught myself and then was able to train the team. So don't feel overwhelmed. Everything is super intuitive if you put a little bit of time into it. And there are a ton of resources out there for you to get support. Like I said, Asana's support team is awesome. Google's your best friend. Anything that you need to find, Google it. I learned that very quickly from Kham, and it's true. You really can search for anything and find the answer. So I just want to leave you guys with that. Like, really don't feel overwhelmed, and we're here at Inthink to help if you do find yourself overwhelmed.
Well, I hope you mean that, because I tend to email at really crazy hours of the night. So just tell me to stop if you don't want me to ask questions.
Oh, that's
we're open. We're business counselors for the local chambers. So we talk to businesses all the time. You know, we're trying to help as many businesses as possible, locally, regionally, nationally. That's why we do what we do. It's more so now than before. Like, we really have to help clients understand, like, okay, what's hyper focused? What's really important right now for your business from a business and marketing strategy standpoint, and like, okay, how are you connecting with your team? Like, you know, because it all connects. Nothing happens in a silo.
Yeah.
And today's content was about understanding, like, communications, project management. You know, it doesn't matter what system you use. It's still like the best practices what Kelle does in Asana. You don't have to have Asana. You can use Basecamp, Monday.com. Microsoft has their own version. So it just, as long as you got to do what makes best for you on your steps. Ours may be a lot or less depending on what you do. We like to over communicate and be really granular, because we just like to have a lot of checks and balances. Other people, it can just be 2 or 3 steps. But I think hopefully today you guys got some takeaways. Shoot us more questions. We have a lot more stuff in the pipeline for I think next week we're doing cybersecurity. We have an IT guy coming on board, and those guys are booming. So there's a lot of other things too. So if you have any questions, just send us an email, and we're happy to answer questions offline, or just like put up another webinar for you. So thanks for everyone's time today. I know that every minute of your day is very precious, and we appreciate our time with you too. So go out there today, crush it, have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Enjoy the weekend.
You too.
All right, bye-bye.